Dr. Sarah Chen yawned as she stepped out of the small spaceship. The journey to this distant planet had been long and tiring. She stretched her arms, feeling her muscles ache after being cooped up for weeks. The air was thin, but breathable. Sarah looked around, taking in the strange, rocky landscape. "Everyone, stay alert," she called out to her team. "We don't know what we might find here." The exploration team of 5 humans had landed on this unnamed planet after picking up strange energy readings. They were the first humans to set foot on this world, millions of light years from Earth. Each step they took was making history. As they walked, their boots crunched on the gravelly ground. The sky above was a deep purple, with 2 small moons visible even in the daylight. Strange, spiky plants dotted the landscape, their leaves shimmering with an odd metallic gleam. "Look!" shouted Mike, the team's geologist. He was pointing at something in the distance. "I think I see a structure." Sarah squinted, following Mike's finger. At first, she couldn't see anything but more rocks. But then, as her eyes adjusted, she saw it too. A tall, dark shape rose from the ground, its edges too straight to be natural. "Good eye, Mike," Sarah said, her heart beating faster with excitement. "Let's check it out." As they got closer, the structure became clearer. It was a massive building, easily as tall as a skyscraper on Earth. But unlike the shiny, glass-covered buildings of their home planet, this one was made of a dull black material. It seemed to absorb the light around it. "It's definitely not natural," said Ling, the team's physicist. She ran her hand over the smooth surface of the building. "This material. I've never seen anything like it." Sarah nodded, her mind racing with questions. Who had built this? How long had it been here? And most importantly, why? "Let's see if we can find a way inside," she said. They circled the building, looking for an entrance. It took almost an hour before they found what looked like a door. It was a circular opening, about twice as tall as a human. Strange symbols were carved around its edge. "Can anyone make sense of these markings?" Sarah asked, but everyone shook their heads. Tom, the team's tech expert, stepped forward with a device in its hand. "I'm not picking up any power signatures," he said. "Whatever this place is, it seems to be dead." Sarah took a deep breath and stepped through the door. The others followed close behind, their flashlights cutting through the darkness inside. The interior was vast and empty. Their footsteps echoed in the huge space. The walls were covered in more of the strange symbols they had seen outside. "This place must be ancient," whispered Alex, the team's biologist. "I wonder how long it's been abandoned." As they explored further, they came across something that made them all stop in their tracks. In the center of the building was a large, circular platform. "Is that an elevator?" Mike asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Sarah stepped closer to examine it. It indeed looked like an elevator, but unlike any she had ever seen. It was made of the same black material as the rest of the building. In the middle of the platform was a small glowing panel. "It looks like it might still have power," Sarah said, reaching out to touch the panel. But as soon as her fingers brushed against it, nothing happened. The panel didn't respond to her touch. "Maybe it's broken," suggested Ling. Sarah frowned. "Maybe, but think about it. An elevator in an alien structure on a planet that's never been visited by humans before. This could be the discovery of the century." She turned to her team, her eyes shining with excitement. "We need to figure out how this works. If we can get this elevator running, who knows what we might find." The team nodded in agreement, their earlier tiredness forgotten in the face of this incredible discovery. They had no idea that they were about to uncover a mystery that had puzzled an entire alien civilization for 500 years, or that the solution would come from the most unexpected place. As they set up their equipment around the elevator, none of them could have guessed that the key to unlocking this ancient alien technology was already in their possession. A simple, ordinary paperclip. 500 years ago, on this very same planet, a very different scene was unfolding. Zack 7, the lead engineer of the Kraxan species, stood before the great elevator, his four eyes blinking rapidly in frustration. His tentacles waved in agitation as he turned to face the group of aliens gathered around him. "It won't respond," Zack 7 said, his voice a series of clicks and whistles. "The elevator is completely stuck." The other Kraxans murmured among themselves, their bioluminescent skin flickering with concern. This elevator was not just any piece of technology. It was the heart of their most important research facility, connecting the surface to their underground labs, where they studied the very fabric of the universe. Lex 12, the facility's director, stepped forward. Her skin glowed a deep blue, reflecting her worry. "How long will it take to fix, Zack 7? She asked. Zack 7's skin turned a pale yellow, a sign of uncertainty among the Kraxans. I'm not sure," he admitted. "The system is incredibly complex. It might take days, maybe even weeks." But Zack 7 was wrong. It wouldn't take days or weeks. It would take much, much longer. As the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the Kraxans threw everything they had at the problem. They'd brought in their best minds, used their most advanced tools, but nothing worked. The elevator remained stubbornly inactive. A year passed, then another. The once bustling research facility grew quiet. Many of the scientists were reassigned to other projects, but a small team, led by the determined Zack 7, remained. "We can't give up," Zack 7 would say, his skin glowing with fierce determination. "The secrets of the universe are down there. We must find a way." But as the years stretched into decades, even Zack 7's determination began to waver. The Kraxan government, once supportive of their efforts, started to lose patience. 50 years after the elevator first broke down, Lex 12, now old and tired, made a difficult decision. "We must abandon the facility," she announced to the remaining team. Her once bright blue glow had faded to a dull gray. "We've tried everything. It's time to accept defeat." The news spread quickly through the Kraxan civilization. The great elevator, once a symbol of their technological prowess, became a source of shame, a reminder of their failure. As the last of the Kraxans left the planet, Zack 7 stood before the elevator one last time. "I'm sorry," he whispered, placing a tentacle on the cold, unresponsive surface. "We failed you." The years continued to pass. The facility stood empty, a silent sentinel on a forgotten world. Dust gathered on the consoles. The once shiny floors dulled. But deep within the elevator's complex mechanisms, a tiny flaw remained, a minuscule misalignment that had resisted all the Kraxans' advanced attempts to fix it. Occasionally, other alien species would stumble upon the planet. They would explore the abandoned facility, marvel at the strange technology. Some would try to activate the elevator, drawn by the mystery of what might lie beneath, but none succeeded. The elevator stood silent, its secrets locked away. Decades turned into centuries. The story of the Kraxans and their failed mission faded into legend. And so, 500 years passed. The facility remained, untouched and unchanged, waiting for someone who could see the problem from a different angle, someone with a fresh perspective and an unconventional approach. Little did the Kraxans know that the solution to their impossible problem would come not from advanced alien technology, but from a species they had never encountered, a species that was, at the time the elevator broke down, still figuring out how to fly beyond their own moon. As Dr. Sarah Chen and her team set up their equipment around the ancient elevator, they were unaware of the centuries of frustration and failure that had come before them. They didn't know about Zack 7 or the Kraxans. They couldn't have imagined the impact their discovery would have on the galaxy. All they knew was that they had found something extraordinary, and they were determined to unlock its secrets. As the Earth team set up their equipment around the mysterious alien elevator, one member stood slightly apart from the rest. Jack Martinez, a 28-year-old engineer, wasn't like the others. While his teammates were top scientists with multiple degrees, Jack was different. He had dropped out of college, preferring to tinker in his garage rather than sit in lectures. Jack had a knack for fixing things, a talent that had caught the attention of Dr. Chen during a chance encounter. She had taken a risk bringing him on this mission, and now Jack felt the pressure to prove himself. While the others discussed complex theories and ran advanced scans, Jack circled the elevator, his eyes taking in every detail. He ran his hand along the smooth black surface, feeling for any irregularities. "Hey, Jack," called out Mike. "Stop daydreaming and help us set up the quantum analyzer." Jack nodded and moved to help, but his mind was elsewhere. Something about this elevator puzzled him. It seemed familiar somehow. As the day wore on, the team tried everything they could think of to activate the elevator. They used electromagnetic pulses, tried to decipher the alien symbols, and even attempted to override what they thought might be a security system. Nothing worked. Frustration began to set in. Dr. Chen paced back and forth, muttering to herself. Ling and Tom argued over conflicting readings from their instruments. Mike sat on the ground, his head in his hands. Jack, however, remained calm. He continued to observe, to think. As the others grew more frantic, he grew more focused. It was nearing the end of their first day of exploration when Jack noticed something. A tiny gap, barely visible at the edge of the control panel. He leaned in closer, squinting to see better in the dim light. "Hey, Dr. Chen," he called out. "Can I borrow your flashlight for a sec?" Dr. Chen tossed him her light, too preoccupied with her own thoughts to ask why. Jack shone the light into the gap, and his eyes widened. "Guys, I think I see something," he exclaimed. The team gathered around him, peering at where he was pointing. "I don't see anything," said Ling, frowning. "It's there. I swear," Jack insisted. "It looks like a tiny gear or something. And it's just slightly out of alignment." Dr. Chen looked skeptical. "Even if you're right, Jack, how does that help us? We don't have the tools to work on something so small and delicate." Jack bit his lip, thinking hard. Then, suddenly, his face lit up. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a paperclip. The others stared at him in confusion. "Jack, what are you doing?" asked Tom, a note of concern in his voice. "I have an idea," Jack replied, already straightening out the paperclip. "It's crazy, but, well, we've tried everything else, right?" Before anyone could stop him, Jack carefully inserted the straightened paperclip into the tiny gap. With a look of intense concentration on his face, he gently maneuvered the makeshift tool. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, there was a soft click. The team held their breath. Suddenly, the control panel lit up. Strange symbols began to glow, and a low hum filled the air. "Holy cow," whispered Mike. "It's working." Jack stepped back, a mix of shock and pride on his face. He had done it. He had fixed an alien elevator with a paperclip. Dr. Chen turned to Jack, her eyes wide with disbelief and admiration. "Jack, that was incredible. How did you know that would work?" Jack shrugged, a small smile on his face. "I didn't, not really. But sometimes the simplest solution is the right one. My grandpa used to say, if it's mechanical and it's stuck, a little nudge in the right place can work wonders." As the team celebrated around him, Jack felt a sense of belonging he had never experienced before. His unconventional approach, his ability to see problems differently, had just changed everything. The elevator hummed to life, ready to reveal its secrets after 500 years of silence. And it was all thanks to a human with a paperclip. The alien elevator hummed with newfound energy, its control panel glowing with strange symbols. The human exploration team stood in awe, their eyes fixed on the marvel before them. Jack Martinez, the unconventional engineer who had just fixed a 500-year-old alien technology with a paperclip, felt a mix of pride and nervousness. Dr. Sarah Chen was the first to break the silence. "All right, team. This is it. We're about to make history." She turned to Jack, a smile on her face. "Jack, Since you got it working, would you like to do the honors? Jack's eyes widened. Me? But I'm not a scientist. Maybe you should. Nonsense. Dr. Chen cut him off. You earned this. Taking a deep breath, Jack stepped forward. His hand hovered over the glowing control panel. The others watched, holding their breath. With a final glance at his teammates, Jack pressed what he hoped was the down button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a soft whoosh, the floor beneath them began to move. They were going down. It's working, shouted Mike, excitement clear in his voice. We're actually doing this. As they descended, the team huddled together, unsure of what to expect. The elevator moved smoothly, much faster than any elevator on Earth. Through transparent sections of the wall, they could see they were traveling deep underground. Look at that rock formation, Ling pointed out. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. The descent seemed to go on forever. Just when they thought it couldn't go any deeper, the elevator began to slow. With a gentle bump, it came to a stop. The doors slid open silently, revealing a sight that took their breath away. Before them stretched an enormous underground city. Massive structures of the same black material as the elevator rose from the cavern floor. Strange, glowing plants provided light, casting an eerie blue glow over everything. In the center of it all stood a colossal machine, its purpose unknown, but its importance clear from its central position. "Oh my God," whispered Dr. Chen. "This is incredible." The team stepped out of the elevator, their footsteps echoing in the vast space. Everything was covered in a fine layer of dust, untouched for centuries. "It's like they just left," said Alex, running her hand along a nearby console. "But why?" As they explored, they found more and more wonders. Rooms filled with alien technology beyond their understanding. Libraries of data stored in crystal-like structures. And everywhere, signs of a highly advanced civilization that had mysteriously abandoned this place. Jack, however, was drawn to the central machine. As the others exclaimed over their discoveries, he walked towards it, feeling a strange pull. As he got closer, he noticed something odd about its surface. "Hey guys," he called out. "I think there's something wrong with this big machine." The team gathered around him. Dr. Chen frowned, studying the machine. "What do you mean, Jack?" Jack pointed to a small section of the machine's surface. "See how this part is slightly discolored? And there's a tiny gap here, just like the one in the elevator." Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she realized what Jack was suggesting. "You think it's broken, like the elevator was?" Jack nodded. "And I think I can fix it." The team exchanged nervous glances. "Jack," said Tom, "maybe we should study it more before we try anything. We don't know what this machine does." But Jack was already reaching for his pocket, pulling out another paperclip. "Sometimes you just have to take a chance," he said, straightening the clip. With the same careful precision he had used on the elevator, Jack inserted the paperclip into the tiny gap. For a tense moment, nothing happened. Then, with a click that seemed to echo through the entire cavern, something shifted. The machine began to hum, lights flickering to life across its surface. The ground beneath them trembled slightly. "Jack, what did you do?" Dr. Chen asked, a mix of awe and fear in her voice. Before Jack could answer, a holographic image flickered to life above the machine. It showed a star map, with one particular star glowing brightly. The team stared in amazement, realizing that they had just unlocked something far bigger than they could have imagined. Their simple mission of exploration had turned into a first contact situation. And it was all thanks to a human engineer and his humble paperclip. The star map hovered above the ancient machine, casting an ethereal glow across the faces of the human explorers. They stood in awe, trying to comprehend the magnitude of their discovery. But their moment of wonder was about to be interrupted in the most unexpected way. A loud hum filled the air, growing stronger by the second. The team huddled together, unsure of what was happening. Suddenly, the air in front of them began to shimmer and distort. "What's going on?" Mike asked, his voice trembling slightly. Before anyone could answer, a flash of bright light blinded them momentarily. As their vision cleared, they found themselves face to face with something truly extraordinary. Standing before them were three alien beings. They were tall, with sleek, silvery skin that seemed to shimmer in the dim light of the underground city. Each had 4 arms and large, almond-shaped eyes that blinked rapidly as they took in the scene before them. Dr. Chen stepped forward cautiously. "Hello," she said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "We come in peace." The aliens looked at each other, then back at the humans. One of them, slightly taller than the others, spoke. To the humans' surprise, their words were translated by some unseen technology. How did you activate the Nexus?" the alien asked, gesturing towards the giant machine. "We've been trying to fix it for centuries." Jack, still holding his paperclip, stepped forward. I think that was me," he said sheepishly. "I just used this." He held up the paperclip. The aliens stared at the small metal object in Jack's hand, their large eyes growing even wider. "Impossible," whispered one of the aliens. "Our most advanced technology couldn't repair the Nexus, and you did it with a bent piece of metal." Dr. Chen, sensing the aliens' confusion, quickly intervened. "Perhaps we should introduce ourselves properly," she suggested. "We are humans from the planet Earth. I'm Dr. Sarah Chen, and this is Jack Martinez, the engineer who repaired your machine." The lead alien nodded slowly. "We are the Kraxans. I am Zack 8, descendant of Zack 7, the last caretaker of this facility." He looked at Jack with a mixture of awe and disbelief. Jack has done what generations of our best minds could not." As the two groups began to talk, exchanging information about their respective species and cultures, it became clear that the Kraxans were both impressed and slightly embarrassed. Their civilization, once one of the most advanced in the galaxy, had been stumped by a problem that a human solved with a simple tool. "But how?" asked one of the other Kraxans, still staring at Jack's paperclip. "Our quantum manipulators and nano-adjusters couldn't align the internal mechanism. How did this primitive tool succeed?" Jack shrugged, a small smile on his face. "Sometimes the simplest solution is the best one. Your advanced tools might have been too precise, too complex. This paperclip was just flexible enough to nudge things back into place without forcing anything." The Kraxans looked at each other, a new respect dawning in their eyes. Zack 8 stepped forward and extended one of his 4 hands towards Jack. "On behalf of the Kraxan people, I thank you, Jack of Earth. Your ingenuity has reopened doors we thought forever closed." As Jack shook hands, or rather, tentacles, with Zack 8, Dr. Chen couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Humanity, young and inexperienced in the grand scheme of the universe, had just proven its worth to an advanced alien civilization. The Kraxans began to explain the purpose of the underground city and the Nexus machine. It was a hub for interstellar travel and communication, part of a vast network spanning the galaxy. By reactivating it, the humans had not only solved a centuries-old problem, but also announced their presence to the wider galactic community. As the humans and Kraxans continued to talk, sharing knowledge, and forming the beginnings of a friendship between their species, one thing became clear: the universe would never be the same, and it was all because of human ingenuity and a simple paperclip. The story of Jack and his paperclip would soon spread across the stars, becoming a legend that would be told and retold for generations to come. As the initial excitement of first contact settled, the human team and the Kraxans began to explore the vast underground complex together. Dr. Chen and Zack 8 led the way, with Jack close behind, still clutching his now famous paperclip. This facility, Zack 8 explained as they walked, was once the crown jewel of Kraxan science. "We called it the Nexus of Knowledge." The group entered a massive circular room. The walls were lined with what looked like thousands of glowing crystals, each pulsing with a soft light. These crystals, Zaxate continued, gesturing with two of his 4 arms, contain the collected wisdom of 100 galaxies. Dr. Chen's eyes widened. You mean, this is some sort of library? Zaxate nodded. The greatest library in known space, or at least it was, before the Great Malfunction. As Zaxate explained, 500 years ago, a tiny error in the Nexus machine had caused a cascade of failures throughout the facility. The elevator was just the first symptom. Soon, they lost access to the vast stores of knowledge contained in the crystals. We tried everything to fix it, Zaxate said, a note of old frustration in his voice. But nothing worked. Eventually, our people lost hope and abandoned this place. Jack, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. But why didn't you just, start over? Build a new facility. The Kraxans exchanged looks that seemed to convey both embarrassment and amusement. We had become too reliant on the advanced technology, Zaxate admitted. When it failed, we found ourselves ill-equipped to start from scratch. As they continued their tour, the humans were amazed by the wonders they encountered. Rooms filled with strange machines that could manipulate matter at its most fundamental level. Chambers where the very fabric of space-time could be studied and even altered. But it was in a small, unassuming room that they made their most startling discovery. This, said Zaxate, is the Hall of Prophecies. The room was dominated by a large, shimmering screen. As they watched, images flickered across its surface, showing scenes from across the galaxy. This device, Zaxate explained, can predict future events with remarkable accuracy. It was one of our most valued tools. Dr. Chen stepped closer, fascinated. How does it work? It analyzes patterns in space-time, extrapolating possible futures, Zaxate said. But it's been inactive for centuries. We never managed to. He was cut off by a sudden burst of activity from the screen. Images began to flash by rapidly, faster than the eye could follow. What's happening? Mike asked, alarmed. Zaxate looked equally surprised. It's working again. But how? All eyes turned to Jack, who was standing near the device, looking sheepish. In his hand was his paperclip, one end slightly bent. I just thought, maybe it had the same problem as the other machines, he said. The Kraxans stared at Jack in amazement, then burst into what sounded like laughter. A trilling, musical sound. Incredible, Zaxate said, shaking his head in wonder. Your species continues to surprise us, Jack of Earth. As they watched, the images on the screen began to slow and stabilize. They saw glimpses of Earth, of humans and Kraxans working together. They saw other alien races, strange new worlds, and wonders beyond imagination. But one image appeared more frequently than the others, a human hand and a Kraxan tentacle clasped together in friendship. Dr. Chen turned to Zaxate, her eyes shining with excitement. I think, she said, this is the beginning of a beautiful partnership. Zaxate nodded solemnly. Indeed. Your people have unlocked the door to the stars, Dr. Chen. Together, we can explore wonders beyond your wildest dreams. As the team continued to explore the nexus of knowledge, each new discovery filled them with awe. They had come seeking answers about an alien elevator, and instead, they had found the key to humanity's future among the stars. And it had all started with a simple paperclip, wielded by a human who dared to think differently. The universe, it seemed, would never be the same again. In the months that followed the remarkable discovery on the distant planet, Earth buzzing with excitement and change. The news of first contact with the Kraxans and the reactivation of the ancient alien technology spread like wildfire across the globe. Dr. Sarah Chen and her team, especially Jack Martinez, became overnight celebrities. They were invited to speak at conferences, appear on talk shows, and even address the United Nations. Everywhere they went, people wanted to hear about their adventure and see the famous paperclip that had changed humanity's destiny. One sunny afternoon, As Jack sat in a park, twirling a paperclip between his fingers, a group of children approached him. "Mr. Martinez," one little girl asked, her eyes wide with wonder, "is it true that you fixed an alien spaceship with just a paperclip?" Jack chuckled. "Well, not exactly a spaceship, but something even cooler. And yes, sometimes the simplest tools can solve the biggest problems." As Jack spoke with the children, he realized how much had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and they had earned their place among the stars not through advanced technology, but through creativity and simple ingenuity. Meanwhile, Earth's governments were working tirelessly to prepare for a new era of galactic diplomacy. The United Nations established a new department, the Office of Interstellar Affairs. Dr. Chen was appointed as its first director. In her new role, Sarah worked closely with the Kraxans and other alien races that had begun to make contact with Earth. She often found herself thinking back to that moment in the underground city when they first met the Kraxans. Who would have thought, she mused to her assistant one day, that our first step into the galactic community would be fixing things? Indeed, word had spread quickly through the cosmos about the humans who could solve problems that had stumped even the most advanced civilizations for centuries. Earth began receiving requests from all corners of the galaxy, asking for help with various technological and mechanical issues. Jack, once an unconventional engineer who struggled to fit in, now led teams of human problem solvers on missions across the stars. They carried toolboxes filled with simple Earth tools, screwdrivers, wrenches, duct tape, and of course, paperclips. "Never underestimate the power of thinking differently," Jack would tell his teams before each mission. "What seems like a limitation can often be our greatest strength." The humans' ability to find simple solutions to complex problems earned them a nickname among the galactic community, the Cosmic Handyman. It was a title they wore with pride. But it wasn't just about fixing things. As humans explored further into space, they brought with them their unique perspective. Their art, music, and literature fascinated alien cultures. Their ability to adapt and their resilience in the face of challenges earned them respect. One day, about a year after the initial discovery, Dr. Chen received an urgent message from the Kraxans. A critical system on one of their main worlds had failed, and none of their advanced technology could fix it. "We need human ingenuity," the message said. "We need the Cosmic Handyman." As she assembled a team for the mission, Sarah couldn't help but smile. She remembered a conversation she had with Jack shortly after they returned from their first alien encounter. "You know, Jack," she had said, "I brought you on this mission because I had a hunch that we'd need someone who could think outside the box. I never imagined just how right I'd be." Jack had grinned. "Well, Doc, sometimes the universe has a funny way of putting the right people in the right place at the right time." As the team prepared to embark on their new mission, Sarah looked out the window of the space station, watching Earth grow smaller as they moved away. She thought about how far they had come, and how far they still had to go. Humanity had found its place in the universe. They were the fixers, the problem solvers, the ones who could see solutions where others saw only obstacles. With a paperclip in one hand and boundless creativity in the other, they were ready to face whatever challenges the cosmos might throw their way. The adventure, it seemed, was just beginning.